Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Astrology Hub's weekly astrological weather. My name is Amanda Walsh. I'm the founder of Astrology Hub, and I am here with your favorite weather woman, predictive astrologer, Ann Ortelee. And this is your show for getting practical guidance for navigating and thriving with the cosmic tides. And we are so happy that you're here. And we wanted to start with an acknowledgement of the major event that actually just ended, which is the full solar eclipse, a total solar eclipse that just happened. And even though not everybody here could see it, we all could certainly feel it. So just taking a moment to feel like, does anything feel different? You know, Anne's been talking to us about the strobe light effect of an eclipse, or the the light bursts and it goes out and then it turns, you screw back in the light bulb and it turns on and everything just is a little bit different. So we're here, right? It's literally just ended. I was watching it live on YouTube, and it's done.
Done.
So what's different?
What's different? We should have had our chrysalis crack. You know, we've been talking all this year about the butterfly and turning, the caterpillar living in his little earthbound land and getting ready to take off. He has to metamorphosize. So we're going from earth to air in the next few weeks. In this week, we're going to start to shift into air. The Saturn and Jupiter both shift. And so when they shift into air, they're going to start to take off. But that means that our cocoon little thing is cracking. So I found this really beautiful image on my internet journeys, and Jamie's going to share it of us in our little cocoons getting ready to crack. And this is by an artist named Ed Binkley. Lives in the Midwest, and I just thought it was beautiful. He does a lot of fairy and dragon. He does work for George Lucas. He's got a body of work. It's really beautiful. But I ran into this one and I thought, oh, look, you can see there's a crack in the chrysalis. She's going to emerge. She's going to come out of it. And if you've ever watched butterflies hatch, you know there's a crack and then there's like a little wiggle and I encourage you all to go look for butterflies hatching, like real butterflies. There's a museum here in New York. They have a butterfly exhibit in the winter, and you go and you hang out with all the butterflies, but they have this shelf of cocoons that are in various stages of maturation. And, if you're lucky when you're there, there's one of them hatching and everybody kind of stands around like this, waiting for the baby to come, right? So we're all hatching over the next couple of weeks. And you're going to hatch at different times based on your chart. But this eclipse inaugurates the breaking free of the transformation we've gone through. Of course, Sagittarius is the resurrection of after the death of Scorpio. It's the return of the light from the darkness of Scorpio, deep water, deep feelings. And of course, the planets are leaving Earth now. The big guys are leaving Earth, and they're going to take off and fly. What does that sound like? The butterfly is leaving the leaf, got to dry its wings, got to figure out like what this new thing is. Like, oh my goodness, I have wings. Where'd my little caterpillar body go? Now I'm a butterfly body. I still have antennas. I still can see. Okay, ready to roll. So the eclipse is an awakening. And then over the next couple of weeks, Jupiter and Saturn meet. That'll be when your flying lessons start. And we're off. So it's going to vary for people this week, what's going on for them. But this should feel like a whoa. And you were talking to someone when the eclipse happened. Yeah. And they could feel it. Yeah. So
yeah. Jamie, I'll tell the story. So I was on the phone this morning with my love, and we were like laughing and just like having fun talking. And then all of a sudden he stops and he goes, oh, eclipse. And I looked down at the time, and it was the exact moment of totality, like the exact to the second. And I went, oh yeah, it's right now. And he said, can you feel that? And I just stopped and I looked around and I said, yes, I can feel that. It was, what I said is it's a stillness. There was just this hush, like this still moment. And so we sat there on the phone for a minute, just quiet. And I think the totality was about a minute. I learned after that it was about a minute. And that was exactly the amount of time that it felt right to just be quiet. And then afterwards, it's like we picked up and we were just laughing again. But there's this sense of a transformed essence. Like there's something transformed. I don't know if you're all feeling that, but and even if you're listening to this later, like you're not listening to this live right now, this moment is like a talisman. You know, it's actually a moment that you can take whenever you're listening to this and reflect, like what's shifted. And it can feel subtle, right? Because we're talking about electromagnetic fields. We're talking about the subtle energy, but it's palpable. And he works with electromagnetic fields in the body. So he's so tuned in and so highly sensitized, but I was so happy that I could feel it too. It's like, yeah. And I wasn't just saying that, I really could feel it in the moment. So
once you paused, you know, and you kind of, oh, okay. And if you guys remember when the eclipse went across the country a couple of years ago and all those people gathered, and then when it happened, they all got quiet. And then they all, and I didn't do that eclipse. I stayed here. We saw part of it out of the window, but I've been in an eclipse, and all the lights go down, the birds get quiet, the flowers close, it gets very still. Kind of like that moment when the sun sets, really. If you've ever been watching a sunset and you notice the shift when the sun goes below the horizon and you feel the energetic shift because the sun now is gone from your view. And there is a little shift in when I used to be on Fire Island, the ocean the bay kind of changed that moment of that sun going below the horizon because you lost the electromagnetic force of the sun beaming on you. So it's very powerful. And of course, it's a big eclipse. We know we've had all this transformation this year, and we also know it marks a new cycle, a new beginning, a vision of light, a vision of purpose. No, you know, astrology, they just approved the vaccine and have been giving it around. It also is a change in your vision of what you want, right? So, because Sagittarius is candles. And so this new moon is in the sign of candles. I think of them, you know, Aries are matches, Leo or fireplace. Sagittarius is movable fire. So it's the season of light. Of course, it's Hanukkah, the candles that stayed lit for 8 days. And so we look at this energy of fire and we understand that illumination. Now, I happen to love ritual and stuff like that. So I often go to the Easter Vigil, which is a Catholic thing, happens on Easter Saturday. They make the church completely black. And you're there at night, they darken the whole church, they light the Paschal candle. And from that one candle, they give everybody in their pews that have their little candles, they give us all light. It's very cool to watch the church go from one candle to the whole church being lit, right? And if you've ever done that, like at a Christmas ceremony or in a wedding or that idea of sharing the light, sharing the vision. And so this new moon is about sharing the vision of your new life. And then this week, both Saturn and Jupiter take off, and they take off. They've been earthbound for 800 years. And now they're taking off and they're going into Aquarius, and they're going to be airbound in their cycles for the next 200 years. So 800 years, we've been waiting for this. 1226, they were last in this sign. And now they're going back into it, and they're going to bring us new ways of thinking about things, new ways of looking at things. And of course, Aquarian is the group energy, it's air ideas, you know. And so in my case, 20 years ago, I became an astrologer full time. That's when my Max came in. That's when he was born, my little Taurus. And so now we're shifting into Aquarius. So Tauruses, I do it one at a time, piece by piece, you know, step by step. And so now we're looking at Aquarian, like working in a bigger group. So when Saturn went into Aquarius, Amanda said, "You want to come talk to my group?" And I went, "I'm supposed to talk to groups." Okay, change in the direction. So you want to look at where Aquarius is in your chart, because that's where you're going to have a change in direction. You got the knock on the door April 4th through June 30th. Saturn got there. And he said, "I'm going to do this with you." And you're going to go, "Oh, really?" And he's like, "Yeah." And then he said, "Not yet. I'll be back in December." And he went, "Really? It was a teaser?" And Saturn goes, "Yeah, it's a teaser, but I'm back." And so now he and Jupiter this week changed signs. And they start to say, you're cracking open, your chrysalis is opening, you're going to emerge, you're going to dry yourself off, you're going to have little wings, you're going to fly. Ready? Now, you don't have to do it right away. I'm a chicken. I used training wheels a lot as a kid. I didn't like bikes. Mrs. Parsons, actually, the neighbor lady, actually helped me get rid of my training wheels because I was like, I don't think I need to take the training wheels off. And everybody's like, you're old enough. I'm like, no, I'm a Virgo. We have anticipatory anxiety. I don't want to. Once the training wheels got off, I understood why, but that moment when you're not really thinking about it and you kind of land on the wheel and then it is so, training wheels, however you feel like you want to fly, but you've already had the invitation a little bit. And now we're going to really look forward to what that change is. Plus, this week is kind of a volatile week in a sense. A lot of planets change signs. So the sun's going into Capricorn. That'll happen next Monday, but we'll feel it. We have Venus changing out of Scorpio, very intense, very passionate, into Sag. We have Mercury changing out of Sagittarius into Capricorn. So he's going to get serious minded. And then, of course, we have the big guys changing sign, Jupiter and Saturn, leaving Earth, taking off. So it's kind of like when you're on an airplane and the plane's starting and you feel it getting fast and you kind of lean back in your seat and then it goes up and you go, whoa, so you might feel like that this week, but that's okay. That's the shift. And then we're going to be flying around for the next 2.5 years because Saturn's in Aquarius for 2.5 years, 2 years and change, not quite a full half. And Jupiter's in Aquarius for a year. So taking off. It's fun. Lots ahead of us. So, and of course it's a new moon. So you can do a new moon ritual. A couple people wrote me and said, oh, is it safe to do a ritual on an eclipse? I'm like, yeah, just add, for my greater good. Because a lot of times we do ritual, we go, I want the jaguar. And, and then the jaguar comes in, and you're like, oh, it's really expensive. It's in the shop all the time. So add in for the greater good in case I'm getting in the way of what's really supposed to be happening. I'm just supposed to have a Volkswagen Beetle, and that's all,
Yes.
So, yeah.
Okay, couple things, Anne. So the candle, it's amazing because I normally don't light a candle before this, but I lit a candle for this. And what I was imagining when you were speaking was all of us taking a moment to light a candle today and to imagine that as your light, your essence. Imagine all of us lighting candles all over the globe, and that's the Aquarian collective, right? So making this commitment to shining your light for the good of the collective and taking off together. I mean, we're doing this. This is amazing. Okay. I have questions, but I would love, well, first, what's the scale? On the scale
well,
of 1 to 10,
I'm going to do the same one I did last time, 2 to 300. I actually met a client this week and she said Monday and Tuesday were 2s. And then the back half of the week was 300. And I'm like, all right, good to know, because it's going to depend on how you feel about all this stuff changing.
Okay.
Because remember, eclipses do end things too. They kind of say that's done.
Yes.
And you might not be ready for it to be done, even though that's part of it. So Lil Max, we've been in mourning here. And most of the time I'm fine, but Remo's going through it. I'm going through it. And I know he's 20. He would have been 21 in April. So he's in his 21st year. And I know he's really old for a cat, but so it might not be something you like, even though it's okay. Like a parent passed, or you're leaving behind a job, or your kids are, they've been home and they're moving out. I mean, it's big. So, allowing and of course it's the holiday season where you remember holidays past, and you look at the pictures and you go, a lot of these people are dead, at least at my age. I'm like, I'm the old person now. They were, I was a little kid in the pictures, right? So it's that understanding of the passage of time that brings with it some sorrows.
Okay. So on the topic of leaving, I had a friend reach out to me today and ask, have you noticed that more people are leaving the planet? And have you noticed that it's more men than women? Which I didn't know how to answer that question. I don't know if all of you have noticed that. also? And would there be an astrological explanation for why more men than women would be leaving right now? Or is that just a coincidence?
Men fight wars. Pandemics are wars. The conjunctions are Earth, the conjunction of Saturn and Pluto is often war or a pandemic, right? And so when we send our men off to war, they die. So even though we're not sending them off to a war in a foreign land, they're leaving. So yes.
Oh. Okay. Wow. Okay.
And often there's an uptick in the births of boys right before a war, interestingly. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And there's been studies of that, and I don't remember where, but I remember reading them. And it wasn't astrology, it was like sociology or something like that, Yeah.
Interesting.
But I think that, and also eclipses are really potent anyway. So there's always lots of departures on eclipses because things go, I can't hang on anymore, the light bulb blowing out. And then the second thing is because this is the shift from earth into air, like I don't want to stay on earth anymore. I want to get out of here. My physical body, like I don't think Max would have left. I don't think my dad would have left. Their bodies gave out, right? So the physical form, and of course it's Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn, Jupiter in Cap, which is the physical form is structurally collapsing, changing, transforming. How does that feel? What does that do? Yeah.
Okay. Another question that came in from a friend actually today.
Mm-hmm.
She was hearing from other astrologers that this is not a good day or a good time to start anything new. And that to me, I went, that's so interesting. Because it's a new moon, but they were saying it's because it's a South Node eclipse. So I don't know what you think about that.
Right. Well, South Node eclipses are really faded. So what usually happens is stuff leaves on the eclipse. So it's good to start things that you want to have leave. Like in my case, a health program. So because it's 2 months today, I haven't two new moons today. I haven't had pasta, but it also is, the doctor was like, it's inflammatory. It makes your foot, blah, 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 lose weight, blah, 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 all that crap. I mean, he's a very nice doctor, but he's a very nice doctor, but he's a side of my pinky. And I knew we didn't get it when he said to me, Ann, when I eat a Wassa cracker for lunch, I can feel it. And I'm like, okay. Wassa cracker, I want a bowl of pasta. Like when I eat a bowl of pasta, I feel it. You get off on a Wassa cracker? He's like this big. So I'm like, all right, whatever. But yeah. So I'm a firm believer that, new moons are great times to do things. And South Node, you watch your transits. Somebody big often arrives in your life on a South Node, right? So they come flying in and you go, oh my God, you're it. So I don't think of them as dangerous. I think of them as unpredictable in the sense of you don't necessarily control the outcome because you're working with these really cosmic, regular new moon, sun and moon, happy. Well, right now the sun just got eaten up. So he's not happy. The moon's a widow, right? So and then he came back, he resurrected, popped back in. But that's why there's a lot of fear around eclipses. I'm like, it's a new moon. You don't necessarily have to do it today, do it later in the week, but it is a very powerful energy for manifesting. And I have lots of witch friends who do really big stuff on eclipses and really do things that alter their life. So I'm not, in hearing people that have worked with it and it's been fine, I don't necessarily buy that, but I appreciate you're dealing with big portals. It's a portal,
So you have to
feel it, that electromagnetic quiet
and
in the stillness. Now, how many times when you think about the stillness, you hear news, your mother has cancer, you hear that moment where you just like go, wow, okay. That's that energy, right? So it's appreciating that quietude and how important it is. And it is life altering. So, some people are like, don't mess with it. I'm like, no, just kind of, like this. Be conscious. You want a Ferrari, you're going to get a big price bill. You want a new car. All right, that works, so.
I have had the same experience, Anne. And what I say is don't approach it lightly or frivolously. And these moments are happening all the time. So to me, it's like, why wouldn't we meet it as reverentially, as consciously as possible? Because it's happening. So I'd rather not have it sort of, like kicking us around. Instead, like really anchor it and really be present with it and really be intentional with it. And I, like your witchy friends, have had the most potent, life-altering changes happen after eclipse ceremony. But and yes, it can create like this sense of a little bit of chaos for a period of time, but it's all happening to bring these things into form. So like you said, if you're new to ceremony, or if you're kind of like tentative about it, maybe don't do it, or wait until the energy is not as potent. But if you want to do it, just do it really mindfully, like really mindfully. And like you said, for the greater good. For those of you who want to join us in the inner circle doing it today, because we are going to have our new moon, and we always have a new moon ceremony. It's going to be today with, on the heels of the eclipse. The inner circle is open right now for a couple of weeks. So if you want to jump in and try and do ceremony, I'm going to be leading it today. I'd love to have you. It'd be so much fun. And then you can always try the inner circle, see if it's right for you. And if it's not, there's no commitment. So that's astrologyhub.com/IC. C stands for circle 21, astrologyhub.com/IC 21. So we are only open a couple times a year, and we're open right now. You get to work with different astrologers every month and get mastery class teachings. Oh, we're also releasing today Adam Summers' mastery class teaching on Jupiter and Saturn. And so getting this information before the great or grand, whichever word you want to use, conjunction next week, could be really amazing as well. So
yeah, I think that's a great way to say it. And also, one of the things I know when I was first kind of running into these fields, I was always like, ooh, like this. And then, as you do it, you get more comfortable with what that energy is. But I remember sitting there going, oh, I can really feel this. Like I can feel this, like you did this morning, feeling the eclipse come in. Right. When you tune into paying attention, you really do feel the energy coming and arriving. And these are really big times, as we know, where there's once in a 100 year, it's a big deal. So once in 800 years, all right. So what are you going to do with that? You go, Magna Carta, man, and again, somebody complained, this comes up. Somebody wrote me an email today, it wasn't the Magna Carta, wasn't then, it was this day. Kind of think theme. Like I said, I wanted to be an astrologer in 2000. I was going to leave corporate behind. Look at where I am now, 20 years later. So it initiates an idea and that unfolds over time, right? It's the seeding of the new thoughts, the seeding of the new ideas. So think about how your ideas about things have changed, particularly around the collective. I'm been really aware because I had an awakening with the George Floyd murders about racism on a different, I knew about it. I had clients talk, I had students talk about it. I'm old white woman. I had white women getting in with the men arguments when I was coming up, but I see it on a whole different level now, and then it's like, okay, what am I going to do about that in my position? How can I help? How can I change? So that awakening that we had, and of course, Saturn went into Aquarius when we had all the protests. And so when you watched John Lewis standing in front of the Black Lives Matter in Washington, and him saying, wow, from me getting beaten going across a bridge to this, what a legacy in his life, the beginning, the alpha and the omega. And we're at an alpha point. Wherever you are in your life, if you're 95, you're an alpha point. If you're 22, you're an alpha point. This is an opportunity of enormous change. And so in the same way, the Magna Carta took like a few fights and arguments, it was seeded then. And Brett Joseph, Gemini Brett posted something, I call it the COVID clump or the COVID cluster. And he's like, you're seeding things. I call it the Council of Capricorn. And I'm like thinking crystals, like crystals have all those facets and you can break them off and they become something. They're a crystal in and of themselves, but they're also from a bigger source. So our ideas here, we're planting things and having played golf and knocked clumps out of the ground, and then you have to repat them. Or my father believed in us as forced child labor. And, we had to plant shit. You got to go dig we planted 500 Christmas trees. You bought these little sticky trees. You got a deal. The Forest Service was selling them, 500 of them. My brother and I were talking with him before he passed. I said, what were there, like 100, a couple hundred? Dad goes, 500. I'm like, oh God. I remember we were out there, child labor, unpaid child labor, I might add, because our allowances got cut off at 16 because we had to go get a job. So when we gave him a bill for the farm labor, he's like, no, you live here. You're my property. You go work for me. Right.
Oh
So you did one of you, there were 3 kids. One of us worked with Dad. One of us, the other 2 worked with each other. And you go like this, make a hole in the dirt, and then the other one would stick the tree in, with this twig in, with the twig with roots in, and then you'd stomp it down and plant the tree. We planted 500 Christmas trees and clumps of dirt. I have an image of when you pulled up the radishes, clumps of dirt, but it's earth. We're planting. Now we're going to fly into air, and we're going to plant ideas and visions and new thoughts. And it's a beautiful time, we're on the edge of history. So it's really important what each of us do to understand our historical journey. And we think about John Lewis and what he did in his life. And we go, okay, where am I in mine? This is that opportunity for me to step in and say, yes, I'm here. Because when he was doing the protests, that was when Uranus was opposite. Uranus and Pluto were together saying change, opposite Saturn, saying get rid of the oppressive, the 60s. That was the configuration of the 60s. So it was the civil rights movement, the women's movement, the gay movement, and now we have another one. And so our job is to be the visionaries and to your point, light the candle, hold the light, work with the collective, say, how do we work? It's big times of change.
This emphasis on our thoughts and our vision with the air energy.
Yeah.
It's what I've been doing in the last week or so is catching myself when my vision is going into a place that's creating a reality I wouldn't want to live in, and asking the question, what am I creating with my imagination right now, and redirecting it to the reality that would be much more attractive to live in. So just, I think as we're working with this energy right now, this potent energy, there's these thoughts that come in that are, and we can't control all of it. We can't, but we can catch ourselves as often as possible and redirect it. It requires a high degree of awareness. But even if we have those moments where we are redirecting the thoughts, it's so powerful. Even if we only do that 1% of the time or 3% of the time, it's enough to start shifting the direction of our creative power, which is very potent. And I think as we get more and more into this air element, we're going to start to see that and experience it more and more and faster in our realities.
Well, think about wind, when wind flows in and wind flows out, as opposed to earth. Anybody who lives in California, when the earth rocks, you go, oh my God. But earth does not move much. Air moves. Ideas are very potent. We share them, we get them, they go. And manifestation, of course, is air, idea, east, sunrise coming in. Then we have the vision, fire, the south. The vision, we look to the south, at least in the northern excusing our Australia people, we look to the south to see the fire, and the high noon and the passion. And then west, which is water, emotion, feeling. So we have great ideas, we have vision, but unless we put emotion behind it, it doesn't happen. And that connection, we have an emotional connection to it. And then earth, the four elements, we manifest physically. So the idea of any creation is an idea, a vision, emotion, and then it happens. So we're into idea phase after 200 years of manifesting phase. So this is a really powerful time. And I just encourage people to think thoughts that are about what your vision is for your life, because those inspire. I had a book, my boss, when I was in sales, my boss gave us your attitude determines your altitude. And I remember like, all right, but it was a whole book of inspirational quotes, and he would open, we all had it. We had to have it in our desk. And then we would have a morning meeting at an ungodly hour, like 8 in the morning. And he would start with a quote and get us talking about what that meant. And then, we had the meeting, because it was like an intention setting. So again, setting your intentions, you know, that's always an important component of anything.
One thing,
that's my intention for this. Yeah.
One thing Georgia Stathis said last week on the forecast panel, which if you missed that, you can still catch the replays. So you could look on our YouTube or on our website or in the podcast. It's up still. But one of the things, and it was amazing. My God, so incredible.
Georgia's amazing. Yeah.
She's incredible. So one of the things she said, she was in day one, is right now how important it is to follow your enthusiasm, to follow the thing that lights you up, that you're excited to learn more about, that you have that like, oh, well, what if I could do something with that? What if I had all the time in the world, what would I dive into? And she said, follow that, even though you don't know what that will bring. You don't know. Does that mean you're going to be a professional, whatever? Who knows? It doesn't really matter. Just follow that enthusiasm, follow that passion. And I was reflecting on that. If I hadn't done that with astrology, we wouldn't all be here together. There was no plan. There was no grand vision when I first started getting into it. It was just like, wow, this is amazing and super helpful. And I just want to learn more, and I'm going to use it, and I'm going to talk about it with my friends. And that's the beginning. So what is it that's alive in you right now? And where will that lead you? You never know. That could lead on a twisting path that is, totally not what you could ever imagine right now, which Astrology Hub is. I would have never thought I would be doing this 10 years ago, 7 years ago. This is 5 years old. And it would have been preposterous to me if you had said, oh, you'll be doing this thing. I'd be like, are you crazy? So what is that thing in you, and where is it going to lead you? And just put as much energy into it as you can. Maybe it's not all your energy, but as much as you can. So, okay, Anne.
Yes.
What else do we have? So, if this wasn't enough. So we have the eclipse, the new moon. We have the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction happening next Monday.
But they both shift. Yeah. So Saturn shifts into an Aquarius on December 17th. And Jupiter shifts into Aquarius on December 19th. And then they meet up on December 21st. So that's when they officially join and seed a new thing. So you're looking at the stuff shifting, like in my case was astrology. I knew I wanted to be an astrologer, but 20 years ago, you didn't exist. I mean, you existed, but so I didn't have a vision of, coming and talking every Monday, but now it's like, all right, now I'm going to the air, right? Which Taurus is one-on-one. What are you going to do? So air is more group energy, right? And everybody look where it is in your chart. Look where that it's 0:29 minutes, right there on December 21st. So as we finish up this year-long chapter, this 12-year chapter, we begin a new cycle. We're also back to 1991 if you're a little older, because Saturn leaves Capricorn and goes into Aquarius in 91. And we're also emotionally back to spring of 93, summer of 93, in terms of our emotional processing. So what was going on then? We do have Mars, of course, is still coming in, right? He's rolling in. He squared Pluto last week. This week he hits Eris. It's a little bit of a temper tantrum. Not bad, but... And then Chiron stations to go direct, which is often us getting in touch with things. And that happens on the 15th. Juno goes into Sagittarius. So we're going to leave our intense partnership to more of a visionary partnership and what we want. Venus goes into Sagittarius on the 15th. So she gets out of passionate Scorpio, kind of a little obsessive, into, okay, big picture, vision, excitement. Mercury goes into Capricorn on the 20th. And he's been in Sag, so he's been a little out of control. He gets precise in his communication. He goes, yes, rather than blah, 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 blah. And then, of course, the sun goes into Capricorn on the ingress next week on Monday. And of course, Sun and Mercury on the 21st, and Sun and Mercury meet up on the 19th. So on the 19th, it's a situation called combust, where Mercury's combust the sun. So everybody thinks they're right again this week. So you just want to be right in your own thing. You don't have to have other people agree with it. To George's point, follow your passion. That to me would be the emotion. Like, I have the idea, I have the vision, I really want to do it. And you did it. You had that, oh, I really love astrology, I really want to do this. And so you followed your emotions, your passion, your feeling, and then look at what you created. And that's how it works. Ideas, vision, emotion, manifestation. And so we're at a really big manifestation point this year, this moment. We're cracking out of our little cocoons. We're going to be butterflies. all this year, a lot of work, but it's for something. So now we kind of go, what color are your wings, babe? Want a little glitter?
So cute. Okay. And so you said something about the alpha point. You said we're at the alpha point. You said if you're 95, if you're 22, if you're 42, it doesn't matter. We're at an alpha point. What do you mean by that?
Initiating new cycles, I think of as the alpha point. So when two planets meet up, they join their energies together and they say, okay, let's begin something. So this year has been littered with alpha points, starting with the Saturn-Pluto conjunction in January when Harry and Meghan left. And then we had 3 alpha points when Jupiter and Pluto met up, the last one being November 11th. So those are Earth manifestation points. What are we going to manifest physically? And then now we're having Jupiter and Saturn meet up at an alpha point of Aquarius, initiating a new story. So we've had all this turmoil in the place where the Capricorn gang is hanging out, and they've been stirring up stuff and restructuring your life. I mean, whose life hasn't been changed a little this year, right?
Right.
And so now, like, we're like, all right, it's been changed. What did it change for? To what did I learn? Because the other part is when we have an alpha point, a beginning, we're dealing with the ending point that says that's done. And you go, oh, and they go, I know, it's hard, that's done. And then you give yourself a little hug, you know, and you go, all right, that's done. But that was such a big part of my life. Doesn't mean it's gone, still in your memory, but it's over. Next. Mm-hmm. What's the next? Mm. And so it's that transition. You know, it's like when you bring your kid to college and you kind of go, oh my God, and you're happy, the kid's happy because they're going to college, but you're the parent going, oh, you know. My mother cried when they moved me to New York after I graduated. My father goes, your mother cried all the way to Binghamton, which is about a 4-hour cry. And I'm like, really? Now, in my land, I'm standing in front of the Barbizon Hotel for Women holding the Sunday New York Times, waving goodbye because I have a new job in New York. I'm happy. Not so my mama.
Yeah.
It's understanding that bittersweetness of things ending and changing, and how profound that is, and really being kind to us, kind to other people, because they're all going through some ending too. And, you know, that there's that quote, Helen Keller quote that, you know, a lot of times when something leaves, we stare at the door where it left rather than looking at what's coming in. And so it's okay to stare at the door, but there's new stuff coming. And when you get up from staring at the door, listen to Georgia and go, okay, what am I enthusiastic about? I think I'm going to make some butternut squash today. Not the same as pasta, but I love butternut squash.
Super good.
Yes. You know, you got to kind of go, all right, what's next? Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And another thing that this is reminding me, Monique Larink said last week during the panel event, was that the new BC is before COVID. And I'll never forget that. I'll never forget an episode I did with Adam Gainsbourg in the beginning of the year, like right when things were starting to get weird. And he said, this is going to be year zero. And I remember just thinking, oh my God, like that's a dramatic statement. This is year zero. So there's like life before now and then life after now. And what you're saying is exactly that. And there is a mourning because there's probably for most people things about before now that you really liked, things that like really worked for you. And so I think it's opening up this capacity for even better. Like it could be even better. And yes, we're in this transition, and yes, there's pain and there's letting go and there's all these things. And is that opening us up for more? Like, is that opening those quotes about the crack and the broken heart, just opening up the heart for more capacity, the cracks opening us up for more light, more love. So, and it's usually all in how we frame things. We can see it as the end and it's the worst thing that ever happened. There's another quote. Some people walk through life seeing nothing as a miracle, and some people walk through life seeing everything as a miracle. And we get to choose how we are viewing what's happening. So
it's always our choice about, I mean, that's astrology. You look at the aspects and you go, okay, here's the energy. And then we have a choice of how we want to work with it. And whether we work with it consciously or unconsciously, it's happening. So I'm always like, conscious is better. Although I did argue a long time ago in therapy, I hate being conscious. And she's like, it's okay. You're going to like it once you get used to it. I'm like, I hate being conscious. But now, you kind of go, all right, I'm not conscious of that. I need to lean in a little and understand that because I don't know about that. That's my new posture when I'm whatever. But it also is, I would point people toward Leonard Cohen. He's the guy that wrote Hallelujah, which everybody knows that song. But a lot of people don't know his other song, Anthem. And you know how you play your Saturn song over and over again?
yes,
I've been playing his Anthem song. And it's where the quote is, the crack is how the light gets in. It's a beautiful, beautiful song. The lyrics are beautiful. And they really kind of describe what we've been going through this last year. And I have a friend he's like 32. I knew him when he was, because his mother was my roommate in New York. And Dylan refers to it as the before times. And so I said to his mother, he calls it that? She goes, well, he watches a lot of apocalyptic stuff. It's the before time. I'm like,
right.
No, okay, it was the before time. And now is the new time. And now it's like, okay, with all the changes we've all gone through, that we've witnessed our world go through, that we've watched our friends work with, now we go, okay, let's pick up and move again. And Oprah has a great thing. She says, sometimes you can't move, you can just stand. And sometimes you can't stand, you can just sit. But sit and be present with it and really honor it. It's your life. And the new chapter begins. So we're shifting. I agree with Adam, zero. Right.
Wow.
BC before COVID. I like that.
And I'll never forget you at our 2020 forecast event last year. You leaned into the camera and you said, we're on the precipice of history. And there was this excitement, in you. Like this is a huge moment and we're alive for it. And you chose to be here for this moment. Like, why you? Why now? What are you here to bring? What are you here to experience? What are you here to do? And I can see your face as clear as day. And this was, again, before all these things happened. So it was kind of like this, ooh, like, what's she talking about? Like, what's it going to be? And now we know. And yes, it hasn't all been roses. I mean, that's for sure. I mean, it's felt really intense all year, pretty much. And yet in that intensity, can you feel the pulse of life? The like, we're alive, we're alive, and we're feeling all this on such a deep level. And that's the beauty of it.
And also, when you read your history, when you were a kid and you learned history of the American War, the Civil War, the War of 1812, or you heard about the wars in Europe or in the Philippines or Japan or the tribes of the Roman Empire. And you were like, it's all history, but you are living through history. This is going to be written about for years. And the changes it's going to bring in the world, the changes in the collective's mind, you know. And I mean, I know I have it when you see a movie from the before times, the BC, and they're all like in a crowd. I'm like, oh, these people don't have masks on.
I know.
And I'm like, all right, that's your reaction because you've been yelled at about masks so much. But I'm also like, all right, that happened before, right? And they're actually labeling the movies now. This was filmed before the COVID, right? So, so no, but it's interesting because we read about history. Great, you know, we've read all these different things, or we've been taught, but this is actually history happening, and it's like, you know, major world events like this, you know, reshape the world. You know, after World War II. Europe was completely reorganized, rechanged as it rebuilt. So we're going to see that kind of same phenomena, and we have to be conscious what we want to build, you know, because we can build bad. You know, that lovely professor that went Breaking Bad, you know, the chemistry guy, you know, like, you know, you don't have to go bad. You can break good too. So
well, and that piece of it can be, you know, disconcerting. I know anyone thinking, oh God, is it going to get worse? Is it going to be worse? And whenever I go into those places, it's like, well, what are you going to contribute? That's the only thing that I can really control. Is what the frequency that I'm contributing, the thoughts, the behavior, the actions. That's it. That's it. So, and if there's a bunch of us doing that, that's pretty cool. Who knows what we'll create?
Yeah. Well, that's the idea, is we're in this creative alpha point of, okay, because all of the changes that happened this year, all initiating a new 200-year cycle, a new 800-year cycle, we're going to go big, a new 35-year cycle, a new 29-year cycle, a new 20-year cycle, a new 12-year cycle, a new 19-year cycle.
Oh my God.
All happening simultaneously. That's a lot of energy. So if you're tired, that's why.
Take a nap.
It'll get better, but that's a lot of energy, and it's all in the same section of our chart. So people are like, oh my God, I'm so exhausted. Oh, but you know, you gotta go, okay, let me sit down and have a cup of tea, maybe a biscotti. I can still have biscottis. No, probably not, but Wassa crackers, man, you can feel a Wassa cracker. That's but all right, maybe I'll have an orange, cup of tea, an orange. I have those little mini oranges are out now. So this is huge. And if you're tired, you're tired. And I think we've all learned what's important to us. We've all learned what we miss, you know, and that's important too, to acknowledge what we miss and whatever the new form will be, you know, in the case of people actually physically leaving, you know, you're not going to be able to call them and talk to them anymore. So you can still talk to them. You can still remember them and communicate about them in your world. So it's big stuff.
All right. So a couple summaries here. We have Jupiter, Saturn changing signs. We know this is the moment of emerging from the chrysalis, and that our flying lessons are going to begin next Monday, December 21st. We will be doing our big solstice ceremony that day. So we're actually not going to have the weekly weather at the same time that morning. Don't panic. Don't worry. We're going to do it Friday the 18th. So this Friday instead. So on Friday the 18th, Anne and I will do the weekly weather. And then on Monday the 21st, because it's such a big moment, we're going to be doing the ceremony for everybody. This is not just for the inner circle. This is for everybody, anybody who wants to be a part of it. I highly encourage you to take some time between now and then, if you're in a place where you can see the sky, to go watch Jupiter and Saturn get closer and closer and closer together. My daughters and I have been doing this, and we sat under the stars last night, and I said to my daughter Madeline, when the next time this happens, you will be 32 years old, and I'll be 62. And this is a really big moment. Like, watch it, and then let's pay attention to what happens after this. But there's something about visually connecting. I know I've been saying this all year, but there's something about visually connecting with with what's happening in the sky. They're actually physically coming together. It's
Every
incredible
day
to
they get a
watch.
little bit closer. Yep.
They get a little bit closer, and I keep going, are they going to look like one star when they're done? Like, so it's going to be really cool to see what it looks like on the conjunction, and then to watch them separate, and then how that's going to feel. Like, again, I feel like a little bit of sadness or nostalgia when I think about that. But
because they've been getting closer and closer. Yeah, and
yes.
so to do it, you go out at sunset and you look to the southwest, because that's where they are. Right to the southwest, you'll see them in the sky. And I'm actually meeting with some friends on next Monday, and we're gonna, hopefully the weather will be good. We're gonna go hang out at the Hudson River and watch them meet, and then go back to one of their houses and have a little, okay, what are we doing for the next 20 years? Yeah.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. If
So
you don't know what they are, wait, hold on real quick. The Star Chart app is there's tons of free apps you can get on your phone. I love the Star Chart app. Whenever I don't know, like I was sitting outside last night, I was like, I think that's Mars. And then I just put my Star Chart up. I go, oh, hi, Mars. Like, that is Mars, but you'll once you use it, you'll start to get more comfortable and confident with your ability to identify them. But if at first you can't, like, that's okay. Just use the app. You can see
it on your phone. Totally.
Yeah.
And it's fun. It really gives you a vision of incoming. You're like,
yes.
Oh, wow, that's really, and to the point of, Yahoo had it. It's the Christmas star. So the wise men did follow. There was a big conjunction in Pisces that was the Bethlehem star. In historical, there was a conjunction then in Pisces, which of course
Jupiter Saturn.
Yeah.
Conjunction?
Jupiter Saturn conjunct in Pisces, and of course Pisces is the fish imagery of Catholicism, and that conjunction happened, and they followed that conjunction. The wise men were actually astrologers. So any of your relatives don't believe in astrology, just go, you wouldn't have baby Jesus if it wasn't for astrology.
That'll be a good
Jupiter Saturn means a king is born and a king leaves, right? There's a shift in the king, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So our flying lessons begin on the 21st. Mm-hmm. All these planets are changing signs this week. And this is a time that we're taking off. If you are going to do a ritual, we'd love to have you in the inner circle to do a ritual together. But if you're going to do it on your own, just make sure that whatever you intend and whatever you're visioning, add the caveat for my greater good. That just is sort of like the blanket. I always say, whatever's highest and best for all, same idea. Mm-hmm. But then, then it can take out that, oh, I thought I wanted that, but I really didn't want that. It's just, there's a surrender to a greater intelligence.
Well, there's a surrender to the process of, I don't always, in my own little world, I don't always know what my best. Exactly. A lot of times we don't know. We get it and we go, what am I supposed to do with that for? And then, that actually is really good. I like that thing. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's going to be between a 2 and a 300 on the scale. So just
2 space 300. Yeah.
Right. Depending on how you are working with change and how you are letting go of things. Probably also where it's hitting your chart, I'm sure. Right. Okay. This is a time that we are again on the edge of history. We're living in a historical moment, period. And we have all these cycles that have ended this year. So we are in that alpha moment, that initiatory new beginning point. This is a great time to follow your enthusiasm, to learn new things, to open up to new possibilities. I love your ideas, vision, emotion, manifestation. So ideas, vision, emotion, manifestation. Those are the 4 things that go into the creative process, right? What alpha points have you had this year? Like what initiatory things have happened in your life that are changing the course of your life? You could reflect on that. And things may feel bittersweet. Mm-hmm. There's that song I love. It's called Bittersweet. I can't remember who sings it, but he says bittersweet surrender. More sweet than bitter, bitter than sweet. I can't remember. I used to listen to it in college. Mm-hmm. If anybody knows the name of that song. And then you said the song Anthem. So we could listen to that song as well.
Anthem by Leonard Cohen.
Yeah. By Leonard Cohen. Yeah. Well, Anne, a couple announcements.
Yeah, you got announcements.
I do. One of them is that we are very pleased to announce that we will be continuing the weekly weather with Anne on Mondays into 2021. And this was such a moment because Anne basically committed to all of us to be with us through the end of the year. And so the end of the year was coming. I'm like, oh God, like, are we going to keep going? I don't really know. And we had a really beautiful conversation around it. Both of us feel very excited to continue this with you. Anne said, well, now it's the Renaissance. Like, I want to be a part of that. That was like the destruction.
We're in the good part now. I mean, you go through all that other stuff. It's kind of like, okay, we're ready to move into the new house and decorate, you know?
Yeah.
Like let's have the good part. This is the good part. We're all going to learn how to fly.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So,
So Anne will be continuing this journey with all of us, which we at Astrology Hub are so grateful and excited. And then more opportunities with Anne to play. Like we're visioning some cool things in.
Yeah.
So yes,
which
more
is
to
not ready to be. And don't forget the Rick Levine thing.
The Rick Levine thing, which is our panel. Yes. Like, I like the left brain turns off for me on these things.
I hear you. I'm good. Yeah.
December 22nd, Anne, Rick, and myself, we will be joining together with all of you, as many of you that want to hang out. And it's going to be more like a fireside, like, let's just get intimate and have a conversation and reflect on the year and look forward. You guys can ask your questions for Anne and Rick. But they both enthusiastically said yes to the invitation. And we're so excited to be doing that with you. That's December 22nd at 2 p.m. Pacific. Is that right, Anne?
I don't remember. It's in my calendar. I just know it's coming. Yeah.
Okay. Shoot. Jamie, if you can confirm the time, that'd be great. She's the left brain for me right now. So December 22nd is that. And of course, it'll be recorded.
Yeah,
and if you miss it live.
I have it in my calendar. I can look.
Okay, cool. Yeah. We'll look at it real quick. And then the 18th, remember, we'll be doing the weekly weather with Anne, same time, same place.
We're doing it the next week on the 18th.
No, that's Friday. This Friday,
right.
The 18th. Sorry, you guys. Of course, we don't have it on the calendar yet. Right. I believe it's 12 noon.
It's actually, I have it on the 23rd, Amanda.
I know we changed it to the 22nd. Okay.
Oh, we did?
Anyways,
okay.
It's going to be on the 22nd. We'll announce the time. Sorry, everybody. But just look out for that. And of course, it'll be recorded. What I am hoping, on the 17th, also, we have the Cosmic Connection with Rick, where he's going to be talking about the Star of Bethlehem. We're going to go way deep into the Christmas star story. And then next week, I have Gemini Brett, who's going to be doing part 2 of the Christmas mysteries from an astrological perspective. And he goes super deep into all the symbology of the tree and the star at the top of the tree and Santa and the sled and all of it. It's really fascinating, and it's all astrologically mapped. So that's going to be on next week on the podcast. But my idea, and this came from John Edward, who, I don't know if you know John Edward, but he's amazing. He's a channel. He's just brilliant man. He listens to the show, Anne. Because he listens to you, and then he found me. And then anyways, one of the things he does for his community every year is he offers a lot of content on Christmas Day, because what he found is that people are alone, or that it's a really hard day for a lot of people. So he inspired me. And so a lot of these things that we're creating between now and Christmas, you can tune into on Christmas Day, is what I was thinking, is that if you want some inspiring, hopeful, amazing content that makes you feel connected and enthusiastic and passionate about astrology and the thing that you love following, there's going to be a lot of like buildup of content that you could just save for that day. And I know a lot of people are alone and on lockdown and quarantine and all kinds of things. So I'm just hoping that we can spread some light to all of you, especially on that day. I know not everybody celebrates Christmas, but even if you don't, it's still
a weird holiday. I live in New York. It's still a weird holiday if you don't, because everything shuts down. So
right,
not
exactly.
It's like
yeah. So you can just like cue it all up and just have an astrology extravaganza on Christmas Day.
Hang out with lights.
Hang out, yes.
The Christmas tree lights, the Hanukkah lights, it's a season of lights, right?
Exactly. Light your candle and
Light your
watch
candles.
some awesome stuff. Okay. So thanks everybody so much for being here, and so excited to continue our journey with you into 2021. You have been just brilliant for us this year. Thank you for sharing your light with us and your wisdom and your wit, and you're just so much fun. And we're so happy to have you here. So thank you.
Good. So let me know what day we moved it to. I can do the 22nd, but I have it in my calendar for the 23rd.
Okay, all right.
But I might have missed the email. It's been a little overwhelming right now.
Yeah. Okay, I'll confirm with you. And thank you everybody for being here. Thank you so much for being a part of our community. And as always, thank you for making astrology a part of your life. We'll catch you hopefully later today for the new moon ceremony if you're in the inner circle. And if not, we'll just catch you on the next episode. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everybody. So long.